Hi, my name is Emily, and as many of you should know, I've been a fan of the Chicago Cubs ever since I was a kid. Growing up, I didn't watch sports or follow much of the history behind them, but I watched my dad wear the Cubs merchandise and figured, why not be a Cubs fan myself? I went to the games and I ate the hot dogs, but as I said, I never followed the team. So today, I want to inform everyone about the Chicago Cubs and how they became a team, their fan base in and outside the stadium, and most importantly, the stadium since day one, Wrigley Field. Running first base, we're starting off with how the Chicago Cubs became a team. Baseball in the early 1870s was very different than baseball today. Everything changed from pitching, hitting, and even the rules. The Chicago Cubs were a big part of the early baseball, but they were not always known as the Cubs. According to the Chicago Cubs glory years, it states, during the late 19th century and early 20th century, sports writers and fans pinned other names to the team. They were dubbed the Colts, Orphans, Microbes, Remnants, Spuds, and Zyphers. Not until 1907 did the Cubs become, formally and eternally, the Cubs. It all really started before naming the team, though. In 1869, a group of men got together and produced this team. Come 1870, the team started playing their games. Fast forward to 1871, the team was then pushed to join the National Association of Professional Baseball Players, in which they then followed by playing multiple teams around the country. Later, one of the founders of the team, William A. Hulbert, stated how the rules and the running of the teams were not always the best. So Hulbert decided to step up and bought his own players for a team and developed new rules for the game. Come 1880, the Chicago Cubs glory years state, Chicago soared above their competition in the National League, winning almost 80% of their games. The Cubs at this time were doing great, and following this, they carried on to win Game 5 of the 1935 World Series, Game 6 of the 1945 Fall Classic, and Game 5 in the 2016 World Series as well. The Cubs have played overall 141 seasons, starting in 1855 all the way till 2025. And as of the year 2025, the Cubs are running against the Brewers in the playoffs, in which they lost. As we round second base, we're going to look at the fans and the atmosphere they brought to the Chicago Cubs. The Cubs fans have always been known for their support and love of the game, whether they win or lose. In the article, The Cubs Fan Paradox, it states, in the case of the Chicago Cubs and their fans, these boundaries are broadly drawn, and examining Cubs fans' loyalty in terms of the game and its definition synthesizes many different explanations for their seemingly inexplicably loyalty. Going back to the first game, the stadium at the time had only 14,000 seats, and yet over 21,000 fans attended this game. This alone tells us how much these fans really want to show up for their team, no matter what. You can also find these Cubs fans outside of the stadium and the surrounding area, where there is t-shirt stands, events, tattoo discounts, artwork, and so much more. When the fans are not in the stadium, that's where you can find them. In 2008, Cubs reached their highest attendance yet, being over 3 million, which passed their over 2 million attendance in 1984. These fans are dedicated for showing up for the Cubs, whether it's in or outside the stadium. Having a strong fan base really helps keep the team alive, even if the record doesn't match the energy the fans bring. Running to third base, next is the stadium, Wrigley Field. This is the name of the Chicago Cubs Stadium, where they have hosted all of their home games, and they have no intention of moving or changing the stadium at all. According to 100 Things Cubs fans should know and do before they die, it expresses, Wrigley Field isn't going anywhere. The $575 million in renovations is seeing to that. So while you need to see a game there before you die, don't worry that it'll disappear before you do. They were still hosting home games during the construction and during these renovations, as fans had to make their way to get to the seats in their stadium. The Cubs have put a lot of work into wanting to see this stadium blossom, and the original design was made by Zachary T. Davis, and then ground broke on March 4th, 1914, and it only took 50 days to build the stadium. The Cubs ended up winning their opening game in April 1914 when the stadium was finished. Although it's Wrigley Field now, it didn't always have that name. The first name was Bingham Park until 1920, followed by Cubs Park until 1926, and then William Wrigley Jr. purchased the team and shortly renamed it Wrigley Field, following the ownership's name. Although this name has changed, it's always had fans showing up and supporting the team. There are lots of memorable games and big games, such as World Series and All-Star games that have been hosted at Wrigley Field. As of now, the Rickett family owns the team and continue to want to improve and enhance the stadium. This stadium has been in the same place hosting the same team since the first day it opened and plans to stay that way for a really long time. As we hit home base, we have learned and discovered new things about the Chicago Cubs, from the establishment and building of their team in 1870 to the fan base that fills the stadium to over 3 million people and spends their time in a surrounding bar, to Wrigley Field, where all the home games, including some World Series or All-Star games, have been hosted at since April 1914, when the park first opened. The Cubs have been one of the most popular MLB teams from the start, slowly working their way up from the players, getting more fans, and enhancing the stadium. All these things are important to know about the Chicago Cubs.